Okay, so we're now going to look at creating and using databases. Now, creating a database is an obvious thing. You know, you have to create a database to be able to store tables or create tables and then store data within those tables. So the structure goes that we create a database, then within this we create tables, which we'll look at next, and then we go down and start inserting data. But using a database is probably a term that you might not quite understand, and rightly so. It doesn't really seem to make sense. Now the point here is that when we create a database, we actually have lots of different databases available. So let's go ahead and log in, and we'll start to look at the concept of using databases now, and we'll also relate that to how this works within PHP as well. So let's go ahead and connect to MySQL using the root account. We'll go ahead and type in the password, which is just root, and we're now inside the MySQL monitor. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do issue a command which is show databases. So we end that with a line terminator, and we see this little ASCII table of databases. So because we have multiple databases, when we're in a session, this is currently a session, we need to know which database we're talking about, or which database we're referring to when we issue commands. So let's just go ahead and create a database. So we've already seen this in the last part very briefly, but we issue the create database command, and then we choose a name for our database. And obviously database names can't contain spaces. If we try and create, say, test1 like that, it doesn't work. It gives us an error, so we get some useful error information back, an error code and a string giving us a error and where the line was, which is obviously line 1 because we only have one line here, and it's near 1 because there's a space there. It doesn't understand the extra 1 because we've included a space. If you need to include spaces, use underscores. This is a common convention, although you can just not include an underscore. It's entirely up to you how you want your database to look. So let's create a database. We're going to call this articles. So query OK, 1 row affected, and that happened in no seconds. So let's go ahead and hit the up key and find show databases, and let's go ahead and press enter here. We now see we have another database stored. Perfect. So what we can now do is surely go ahead and start issuing commands. So I could say, for example, I don't know, select star from users, or let's say select star from, I don't know. In fact, let's go ahead and just let's go ahead and create a new database because we need 2 anyway. So create database website. So this is just going to be the general database for my website. I'm just sort of making this up, but So if I was to go ahead and I wanted to get all users from my database, so select star from users. Don't worry if you don't understand this. What I'm now doing is I'm issuing an SQL command. So when I hit enter, we get this error, and it says no database selected. And the reason for this is that because when you have multiple databases, when you issue a command like this, what we're doing is users refers to a table which is inside of a database. So we're not actually specifying what database we want to select from. Now what we can do is we can do something like website.users, but this says it doesn't exist. However, what's happened now is this has actually worked in terms of accessing the website database. However, there's a better way, and we're going to look at doing this later on in an application as well. Because when you have a PHP application, for example, and you want to connect to a database and start connect to a MySQL server and start accessing data from tables within a database, you would provide the database name on connection, and you would only ever use one. Well, you can use more than one database, but generally, and probably recommended by a lot of people, you would only use one database per sort of application or website instance. So in this case, let's assume that our database is website, and we want to insert, say, an articles table, a users table, a comments table, etc., etc. So what we would do is we would go ahead and within our terminal we would say use, and then choose the name of the database that we want to use. So I'm going to choose website. So now it says database changed. That now means that when I issue a command like select star from users, this now assumes that we're selecting everything, star or asterisk means everything, from the users table within website, because we issued the use command on website. So when I hit enter now, it gives us the same error message, but we now know that we have a database that's been selected for the use that we want. So I've selected star from users, and it assumes that it's from website.users, or it assumes we're trying to access the website.users table. So as I mentioned, within our application later on, we're going to be specifying that we want a particular database selected, and in this case we'll provide it within the code, so it will make a little bit more sense than this does. But generally the rule is, if we just go ahead and delete, drop database articles, generally the and we'll just say show databases again. So generally the convention would be that you go ahead and you create your database within PHP. You would go ahead and say I want to use website, but within the monitor you want to say use website before you start to do anything, and that includes everything: creating tables, querying, anything like that. You would use the use command. So in this video we've looked at creating and using a database.